So this is the next pattern that we're going to be working with the lace alongside it, and there are quite a few new things in this pattern. So we've not done a pattern so far that's had an edge with what we call passives. Passives continue all the way around. We're also going to do a different type of start here. We will use the pins and the lace rather than temporary pins to work that start. We've also got an area of spiders here. These are called compound spiders, and they're compound spiders because we go straight from one spider into the other. The ones that we've done so far have had rows of ground around them, not single isolated spiders that these are. So that does compress the spiders a bit. We've also got something that we have done in a previous pattern, the challenge pattern, which is a chevron type shape. But what we've got here is we've got it butting up against the edge. So when we come to work this chevron, what we've got to work out is what belongs to what and where we do the twists in the work. So as a simple example, if you look here, we want that chevron to look continuous. What we really don't want is some twists along there. So we'll look at that in a bit more detail about where we twist and where we don't twist. But yeah, it is personal choice, but it's looking at those shapes. The other thing with this pattern, looking particularly at the pricking now rather than the lace, so I'm going to leave the lace alongside what I'm doing. What I want to look at is the order that we're going to work things. As our piece of lace gets bigger, it's on this one it has 20 pairs in it. What you'll find is that you've got to make decisions about what you work and what you work in what order. So you could start on the edge, and once you've got some pairs in, you could work towards that spider, but then have to go back to the edge. So as I'm going to work this, I'm going to look at effectively zoning the pricking. So I'm going to work all of this section first. I'm going to get all my pairs laid in. Then I'm going to come over to work that fan area. Then I've got a choice. I can either work that side or that side. The two don't join together. I can work them separate. So I'd work that side of the pattern, then that side. That then sets me up, if I've worked that ground, for the next section of compound spiders and so on. So it is about trying, where possible, not to jump about your pricking too much, and to finish where you can. Get to the end of a piece. If those had been joined in the middle, then it would have been a slightly different choice, but they're not. So I will have the working diagram on screen as I'm going to do this, and I will talk through the sections of the working diagram as I'm doing my work. So I've now got my pricking on my pattern and my working diagram over this side of it. So as I said a short time ago, we're going to start off by working this section. So on the working diagram, this is this section, and adding the pairs. The first thing to notice is that if you looked at the pricking, you could do that as half stitch, pin, half stitch, but that's not how this pattern has been designed. It's been designed to have what we call here foot side or edge passives. Foot sides are normally one side of the lace and head sides are the other. All our lace so far has basically been symmetrical. They're edge stitches. When I've finished this video, I'm going to do a separate video that's going to have a very slightly different edge to it, and talk you through working that edge, and that will be what I call a proper foot side edge, which I'll sometimes call an alternating edge, which will become clearer when we get to that video. So first of all, looking at our working diagram, there's a load of pluses on this. This is where we're adding our pairs in. So we are going to start at the very top. So the first 2 pins on either side, sorry, first 3 pins on either side, we are going to hang 2 pairs, and we're going to hang them on rainbow. So let me do that to start off with. 1, 2. So you can see that I am using the pinholes from the lace pricking itself, whereas normally I'd be using above. So 1, 2. Don't worry at this point about adding twists. We'll come to that one shortly. You'll notice there are no twists on the working diagram. Okay. 1. So when you do this, you've got to be really careful that you're not catching on other pins. You can see that I am doing some of that as I'm adding those in the middle. A bit easier to add at the sides. 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do between each of these pairs, I'm going to add 2 twists, but I'm going to do that by twisting each pair once. So it's got 1 on it, 1 on each of those, 1 on each of those. Okay, so we're now ready to work this first section. And this first section is a bit like working a spider, really, a 3-legged spider. First half of that spider, to start you off, you're going to cross all the pairs through each other, starting off in the centre. So centre pairs cloth stitch. So just cloth stitch, and then that comes through 2 more. 1, 2, and just quickly tension. Oh, and that's okay. So then going to the other side, we need to do the same. So that one is going to come through 3 pairs. I'm going to work it exactly like we would do a spider. So 1, 2, 3. Tension up. A bit easier to tension up the second time. And then finally, the last one goes through 1, 2, 3. And then we put a pin in the middle. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So this is now where we're going to differ from a spider. So we've worked that stitch. We are now going to twist each pair once, because what we need to work both of these sides is like with a cloth stitch block, we need a worker for each side. And these are going to be our mini workers to go down the edge. So twist them once. And it does only need 1 because there's 1 on each side. And we're going to then close it with a cloth stitch. Okay. So I'm going to move those out of the way, and I'm going to concentrate on this side of the work. So the worker for the edge on this side goes through 2, works to the edge. We put a pin in. Because it's an edge and it's cloth, we're going to twist twice and then come back. And that's when we do our next thing that's different. So let me work that. So I'm going to go through 2 pairs in cloth stitch. I'm at the edge, so I'm going to twist twice. I'm going to put my pin in. And then going to work back. Okay, so give it a nice little stroke to tension it. Things will start moving a bit because some of these bobbins are connected, as you can see. I'm moving one side and the other side is moving. So now we need to add a pair according to the working diagram, because there's a plus there. So this is different to any that we've worked before. What we're going to do, I'm going to twist twice. I'm going to put the pin in. Okay, that's done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my extra pair. I'm not going to add it over the pin. What I'm going to do with it is add it around the pair that's there. So literally I've gone under that pair. I'm going to lay that to the back of my pillow. Okay, doesn't matter that it's crossing the other work for now. We'll sort that one out later. I am going to keep all of those in order because I've got a series of pluses along here. So let me work to the next one, or the next edge rather. Got to the edge, twist twice, put the pin in. And then I'm going to come back. Twist twice, put the pin in. Okay, so now I'm going to add another pair, and I add that again under and back. And let me just zoom out a bit. What you can see is as I'm adding those in order. So that's my first one, that's my second one, and that'll be important for untwisting them later. So let me go back on a better zoom to see what I'm doing. So I've added the second one, and I'll go out to the edge again. Twist twice, put the pin in. Okay, and one thing you do need to watch is that you are tensioning those, and that those passes are following that diagonal rather than trying to pull over. So on tensioning that. So let me do one last one to demonstrate what I'm doing. So we've got here twist twice, and I've tensioned those by just stroking them, pin in, and then another one underneath and to the back, it again in order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the rest of the pairs that are shown along this edge in order, and come back when I've got to this pinhole here. So you never stop, although I've just done it now, and to move to something different when you've not covered that pin. You always make sure that the worker goes along. Otherwise, any pairs that you add can distort your work more. So let me stop the video for a bit here, and when I come back, I'll look at straightening the pairs out. So I've zoomed out, which does mean that you get the corner of my light, unfortunately. So apologies for the light in that corner. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to move my 3 pairs that are at the edge. So we've got a worker pair and 2 passive pairs out the way for a minute. And then carefully, one by one, I'm going to move all these pairs that I've added down. So it's as simple as I move that one down. You can see at the moment it's pulling, and it won't do shortly. So next one. Next one. So because I've laid them in very, very carefully and in order, I'm able to bring them down in order too. Okay, so what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to put them on one of my stitch holders and put them out the way for a minute. So I'll probably need 2 stitch holders for these. First one, yeah, and the second one. Okay, so I know I've covered my working diagram now, but I'm going to repeat this on the other side. So you can see I've stacked my bobbins. They're well out of my working area. Adding pairs on this side is going to be a bit more challenging, not in terms of adding them, but in terms of where you put them, because obviously you don't want to get caught on those pins. So I'm going to stay out just wide on the video just for a minute so that you can see what I'm going to do with the pairs. So cloth stitch through 2, just like on the other side, twist twice, pin in, come back to the centre. 1, 2, twist twice. Stroked as I did that to give it a little bit of tension. Stretch it out. And at this point, I'm now going to add a new pair. So what I don't want to do, really, if I can avoid it, is add them at the back of the pillow. That then means I've got to bring pairs back and over. So ideally, I want to put it over there, but I need to put it quite well to the back of the pillow this time. So let me carry on. 1, 2. Back, twist twice, put the pin in, and we're now going to add my next pair. So once again, under the bobbin pair that's the worker, and then put that pair to the back of the pillow. They will feel like they're pulling away more from the pillow and the work on that side, just because we've got a wider bit. So I'm going to carry on in this way, adding pairs. So I'm going to get both sides to the same point. I'm going to have brought those bobbins down in exactly the same way that I did on the previous side, and we'll then look at what's in that centre area. So I'm now back at my pillow, and you can see I've got all my pairs in place. Now you've got 20 pairs on this pillow. 20 pairs is more than you've worked with me. So what I've done to help me a bit is the ones that are at the edge, so the 3 pairs on either side, I've got them on stitch holders and well out of my working area, because I'm not going to need them for a bit. So the next section that we're going to work is this area before we get into the chevrons. So we've got a row. We're familiar with the green stitches. Green stitches are half stitch, pin, half stitch. So we've got a diagonal to work there and a diagonal to work there. And one thing to note is that that diagonal does go on by 1 more pin in this case. So I am going to work that as a complete diagonal, and the same over here. So let me do that, and let me then talk to you about the spiders in the middle. So as I've said already, there are no twists shown on this working diagram. Half stitch, pin, half stitch has 1 twist on the ground. That means we need to add a twist to all these pairs that are coming in. But when we start off, sometimes adding 1 twist doesn't look like a twist. So let me look at twisting this one. 1 twist doesn't look like anything. So I need to put an extra one on so that it looks like 1 twist. All depends which way around your bobbins were laid in. So it doesn't look like a twist, give it a twist. I'm going to repeat that along the row. And they all need, on this pattern, in my working, because of the way I've placed my bobbins, I can see looking at them that they all need 2 twists on them. So I'm going to do that with all of them on both sides. Now that one, when I've done that, was fine. So that one wasn't. Okay, so you can see you do have to watch your lace carefully. That one effectively has the twist already on it. That one is fine with just 1. That one's fine with 1. So it might be different on different sides, but yeah, it's just checking each side as you come to it. Does it look like it's twisted? Does it need a twist? That very end one will feel like it pulls away. So I'm going to start at the top of the diagonal. And as we're seeing on the working diagram, we've got a row of half pin half, which incorporates everything that we've added in on this side, including from that last pinhole there. So let me do that diagonal row. So it's half stitch, pin, half stitch. half, in, half. Carry on that down the diagonal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed the video up at this point just for a short minute to get me down this diagonal. Okay, so back to normal speed. That diagonal is complete. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my bobbins over to this side. Okay, and do the same on this side to the same point. So I'm going to cut the video at this point, and next time you come back to me, I'll be ready to work the centre. So I've now completed both diagonals, incorporating all the pairs. So all the pairs are now fully in work and have worked a stitch rather than just being hung in. Some of them are still a bit delicate, particularly those two. The rest should be fine. Because you've got 20 pairs on your pillow, one of the things that I've done is there's 2 pairs on either side that you aren't going to need for the next section. So I've added 2 pairs to my stitch holders on either side. And that gives you a more normal number of pairs that you've been used to. So I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the middle, and that's a number that you're a bit more used to working. So if we go to this center section, so these are spiders. If you look at them, they are 2-legged spiders, even though they're a bit different here. 2-legged spiders means our pairs need 2 twists on them. Again, the twists aren't shown on this working diagram. So when we've worked the first spider, we do literally just twist our pairs and take those straight into the next spider. Now what you need to be is very careful on your tensioning when you're doing that, because you can't pull your tension after you've gone past those twists. So let me work the first one. That's going to need 4 pairs, 2 from each side. Put the others slightly out of the way. So I need to check on twists. The legs have got 1 twist on, they need 2. So they've now all got 2 twists on them, and I'm going to work my spider just as I'm used to in cloth stitch. Pin in, tension, stroke to tension. Repeat. 1, 2, 1, 2. Tension, pulling them out to the sides, and then 2 twists. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so I'm going to put the ones on the right to the side, those in the middle, and bring the next 2 along down. So that's another spider according to my working diagram. So another spider there. So legs need 2 twists. 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm going to work my spider. And pin in, center, stroke. Now that really is the last time that you will be able to tension the spider before. So just check your spider above, stroke those pairs as well. They're absolutely fine, they're lying fine. So then finish the spider. Again in cloth stitch, stroke to tension. Okay, stroke and push out. So small little spiders, 2 legs, 2 twists when we're finished. Okay, so the other two spiders are worked in the same way. So I'm going to do those off camera. So all my spiders are done. Let me just give it a quick check by holding the bobbins, and I put some tension on them, and they're all looking fine. So let me go over to this side of the work. If you look at my working diagram, under here I've got a row of half stitch pin, half stitch to cover the spiders. So that's what we're used to on a spider. So let me start that. Half stitch, pin, half stitch, half, pin, half. So I'm going to incorporate the rest of the legs with half, pin, half, including the pin at the bottom, and then I'll come back and talk to you about the next section of the work. So I've completed those ground stitches around the compound spiders. So we're now ready to work this next section of the lace. And it's a bit unusual because we've got a chevron, which is quite clearly a chevron there. We can see the working lines on our pricking are continuous, but we've got to attach into the edge at the same time. So we are going to be doing a bit of jumping backwards and forwards between the edge and the chevron, and we're going to be incorporating stuff. So before I can work that chevron, I need to have that pin in place, and I need to have that pin in place, and I need my worker at that point. Now you'll notice that that's a purple stitch. They're purple stitches, not green stitches. They are actually part of this edge trail. Okay, so we would treat this as we're incorporating a pair. So it'll have a twist on the way in. It won't have a twist on the worker there or there. Okay, the only points at which we'll twist are on the outsides of that work. So let me do that pin first. So I'm going to bring my worker in from the edge. I'm going to incorporate another pair, albeit it's only going to be in for this pinhole, so I don't twist the worker, which is normally what we're expecting. Cross stitch them, pin between them. Now at this point I can look at this is my passive, so it's part of this trail. We don't twist any of the other passives, so we're not going to twist that one. But this one, it is our worker and it is at the edge, so we are going to twist it twice. Okay, so I'm going to come back. 1, 2, and this time we're coming back through 3 because we've got that extra one, which we're immediately going to leave out. 1, 2, twists, pin in. Okay, and come back, but only through 2 because we are leaving 1 out. Okay, so 1 twist on that one. Okay, now in terms of twists and coming out, on this one we are transitioning into the chevron, so that should have a twist on it in the same way as the one that's above. That needs a twist on it. I think I automatically did it earlier on. So we've now got a section of the chevron that we can work, and we should work as much of that section of the chevron as we can and stop at a sensible place. So looking at it, I can weave backwards and forwards. I've got that pair, got everything that I need, can do that one. I'm going to stop at that pinhole there. I'm then going to come back to my edge. So let me do that section, come back to the edge, and I will do all of that section on camera. So at the top, cloth stitch. Let's look at which one's going to be our worker. So looking at the diagram, they are different, these two. They're not mirrors. They are both going in this pattern. to the left. So that means that the pair on the right is going to be our worker. So that's the one that when we put the pin in, we twist twice. Okay, so as the chevrons that we've done before, it's getting wider, and put the pin in. Okay, over to this side, getting wider, twist twice, put the pin in. And I do tend to twist before I put the pins in at the end, as you'll have seen before. Just makes them fit around the pin better. Okay, so now I'm going to incorporate the worker. I'm still going to twist twice because this belongs to the chevron. Chevron has a worker and then work back. Okay, so carrying on. It's getting wider on this side, so I'm going to take a pair in on this side. You will find that you do need to lengthen your worker. It will be quite hungry on thread at times. Put the pin in and come back. So I am, as I'm working, giving it a little bit of tension. Right, so it's got narrower on this side and it's still going to get narrower. So twist twice, pin in. Come back. Stroke. Twist twice on the worker. Pin in. Back to the other side. Okay, so the work has got narrower between the two pins. So twist twice and put the pin in. And come back to incorporate the other pair that's there. Twist twice and pin in, and at this point we're going to stop. Okay, so we've stopped because we haven't got, if we move the work over, what you'll see is we can't work the rest of the chevron because we need some pairs from the edge. So again, as we're working this little section, we need to look at what belongs to what. So here we've got a pair coming out of the chevron that needs a twist on it. Okay, because that pin belongs to that. So let's now take that one out to the edge and back. Twist twice at the edge, put the pin in. Okay, so the next pin held down. So the next pin held down is incorporating a pair into this edge. So it's not part of the chevron, it's not a ground pin, it's part of that area. So it's going in, so that isn't going to have a twist there, and it's not going to have a twist there. So we're now at this point to work this point. This pin belongs to the outside trail. So that means we don't have a twist on the worker there and there. And we don't have a passive twist there because they're not going to be twisted. So just like we did above. So let me incorporate that extra pair. First of all, because it's transitioning, it needs a twist on it. So remember that twist. So that's there to there. That pair needs one twist on it. So incorporate it, twist twice, put the pin in. And it's the edge worker only that's twisted at that point, and I am putting 2 twists on it. and then go back to the edge, twist twice, and then come back across. Okay, so here we're not working through that. Our worker is then incorporated into the second half of the chevron. Okay, so the pairs that have come out here and here will need one twist on them. So one twist there, one twist there. So let me work the second half of the chevron. So carefully going back to where our workers were. I've just noticed I put that pin originally in wrong. It was splitting those. So let me carry on. So when I get back to the left-hand side, my work has got wider. So that means I need to take in a pair at that point. As you're working, remember to lengthen your workers whenever you need them. Pin in. And we're just working this as the worker on the chevron, working as normal. So back to the other side. When we look at the other side, it's getting narrower. So we leave one out, twist twice, and put the pin in. And then I'm just going to stroke everything to make sure it's in order. I've got a little loop in my work there. You can see that they're all tensioned just by stroking the bobbins down. So carry on back to the other side. Try not to do what I did there and lift too much off your pillow. So we are working the chevron, not the edge at this point. So we've incorporated the edge worker. We're going to twist the chevron worker twice, put the pin in, and then cover it with cloth stitch. So that pair will now go out to be our worker on the edge. Okay, it's got narrow on this side, twist twice, put the pin in, cover the pin. It's got narrower on this side, twist twice, pin in, cover. Back to the other side, it's got narrower, twist twice, after having left one out from the previous pen, cover. Okay, back to the other side, it's got narrower, so I need to leave a pair out, but that means there's only one pair in it, and that's absolutely fine. Twist twice, pin in, and then cover. Okay, so that is our chevron complete. Okay, so let me twist everything, because going into the next section, everything will need to have a twist on it. So get those ready to start off with. So the pair that's going to be our fan, so the pair that's going to go out to be our edge worker again does come out of the chevron and into there. So that does need a twist on it. Okay, so I'm going to work that stitch. I'm going to then incorporate the other passive that's come out of the chevron, work back to there, and leave my worker at that point there for the next repeat. So okay, so no twist at that point. I'm going to incorporate the next pair that's already had a twist on it, because I went through and twisted and everything. So back through everything, it's incorporated, so we don't need the twists on the passive, just the twist on the edge worker. Pin in and cover the pin by working back through the normal 2 passives. Okay, so this one here, which is that one, is then going to go into ground, so that needs a twist, and we'll sort that one out when we come to it. So I've done one side. You should now be able to do the other side in exactly the same way, and that's our full repeat done. So we continue doing exactly what we've been doing for the rest of the pattern until we get to that last row of ground pins. We're going to have to find a way of bringing everything together. So I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to work that on my own, and then I will come back to the video to talk to you about finishing off. And I do have a separate working diagram for that finishing off. Something that I didn't record earlier on, and as I was working the lace, I realised something is very slightly different. So when we do these chevrons, they both start working and weaving in exactly the same direction. What that means is when we get to the middle, we can get some differences. So by working backwards and forwards, we work that pin, which is the point pin on that side. We work the inner pin on the right, and then we can come back on the other side that I did on the video before. When you've worked the inner pin, that takes you to that outside pin. So don't be surprised when you're doing your weaving. There's nothing wrong. They will end up in different places. So I'm just quickly going to work to that point off camera and just show you that bit again. So I'm now at the outer point, and as you can see, if I move my pins, actually there's one more pin to work on the inside. So let me do that now. Got a twist. So that pin is now added, and I can go still back to the other side. There's nothing stopping me going back to the other side. And it's at this point, I leave that pair out because it's going narrower. It's at this point that I actually stop the chevron at that point. Okay, so now this time, really when I have finished, I will have done the ground here, and we'll be ready to finish it off. So I've now finished all the ground stitches, and you can see I've got a new working diagram at the side of it. So this is the working diagram for finishing off. So you can see on the working diagram that we've got that row of half stitch, pin, half stitch, which I've already done. But if you look at what happens next, what you see is that this zigzagging that we've been doing, the backwards and forwards in, all the way along the edge and at the start continues. So what we're going to do is we're going to lose our pairs. So whereas in the past we've left them out at the edge, what we're going to do here is we're going to lose them effectively within this work and throw them out. So that's going to give us no tassel probably at the end of the work. And the way that we do this is, if you look here, we work through 3. So we'd have normally taken one in, but we don't leave it out again. So we carry on, we take another one in, we work back again. But if we carry on doing that forever, we'd end up with a lot of threads there. Now, some people do that sometimes, but that gets very difficult to work with, very difficult to lie flat. So once they've been on their own for a few rows, what we're going to do is we're going to start throwing out pairs, and I literally do mean we are going to throw them out over the back of the work. So we do need to make sure that they're secure when we do that, and we've gone through them at least 3 times. You can see I'm going to take that one in, and I never take the edge one out. The edge one I need to make sure always stays, because we will see that line. Not so bothered about the inside line, which is going to change anyway. So I'm going to start throwing it out. Because it's going to be quite tight, I can start throwing out at the second pin along. So you can see the line just ends. Carry on down, same position, the line just ends, and so on along the edge. Now, while that's shown in the diagram, I'm probably going to do something very slightly different when I work it. I'll throw out something that isn't actually a pair. So let me get to that first point and let me explain what I'm doing. So I'm taking the first in. So that is that pinhole. So that one's taken in. Helps you put the pin the right way around. Okay, back to the edge. So I'm still doing my normal twists at the edge of 2 twists. Pin in. Back the other way. Taking the next pair. So I'm now at that pin. Twist twice. Put the pin in. Straighten everything out, and you will have to watch your tension on this. Work back to the edge. Pin it. And then I am going to work back to the other side, taking in one more pair, and then I'm going to throw out a pair. So I've taken one pair in, and I'm going to stop at that point. Okay, so align everything up. So the diagram takes me to take that one out as a pair. If I take a pair out as neighbouring bobbins, what I'm likely to do is potentially to get a hole. So I want to avoid that. So what I'm actually going to do is take out next door but one, and I'm going to lengthen that on my bobbins, and literally I'm going to throw that to the back of the pillow. Let me zoom outwards and pull the pillow just towards me for a minute. So what you should hopefully be able to see is that I literally have thrown those out over the side of the pillow. I like to lengthen mine and throw them out that far, because what it does is that puts a little bit of tension onto the thread and stops the threads going loose. So let me go back to a bit closer in, and let me look to repeat that. So I've already taken the pair in. Out to the edge, twist twice, and in. Keep on stroking, keep on tensioning them. Work back. You can see it does feel very tight, and that's good because that'll hold the pairs in. Include that next pair. And then throw out a pair. So again, I'm not going to throw out a pair of neighbouring bobbins. I'm going to do next doors but ones. Okay, to the back of the pillow. I'm going to repeat that along the row. and I am going to throw out each time at the same place when I've got over to that far side. The fact that it's tight means that it will hold the bobbins in. It would be wrong to take a pair in and throw it straight out. It wouldn't hold and your lace would undo. So I've got to that inside, and again I'm going to throw out next door but ones, but not the outside pair. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that along the side and along the other side, and I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to come back to the point where I'm at this pin here, and at this pin we're going to have to start to get rid much quicker of the bobbins to get to the end. So let me stop the video now, and next time you see my pillow I will be at the point in the middle. Okay, so I'm now at the center pinhole here. So what I'm going to do is work the two workers through each other. One then becomes a passive, one stays as a worker. And I should have 3 pairs on each side plus the workers. And I've got 3 pinholes to go. So I am now going to start throwing out much quicker than I was previously. I've also been on the last worker the last passive that I've thrown out on each side, I've kept them back. I've kept them separated because I might need to use them in a minute. So let's work to this pin. And as soon as I've put the pin in, I'm going to throw a pair out, which is going to help me. So I'm going to throw a pair out there and there, and I am going to at this point start using not the very outside bobbin but the one inside. So I'm going to separate that, throw it out, but keep it reserved so that it's straight on one side, and work back to the other side. Okay, the pin in. So I'm going to throw 2 pairs out at this point. I'm going to throw one out this side, and I'm going to throw one out on this side, the after the pin one. So again, I'm not going to take a pair. I'm going to take bobbins 2 and 4 this time. So getting nearer to that edge because that's a bit more secure, keeping it in line. Same on this side. Across to the beginning pinhole. Twist twice. Pin in. So I'm going to go back to this side and do my pair thrown out after, but again keep it handy. And I'm going to do a pair thrown out on this side, and on this one only I am going to take a pair out because that one's coming from, the next one along comes from yeah, they're a bit too near the center, so I only want to take one out of there at this stage. But again, I'm going to lie it straight out, so to the end, and there's no pinhole here. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to bunch the pairs and throw those underneath and tie over the little bunch, and they're not going to be tied properly, particularly over a bunch. So that's one. I think I need to wrap around as well, just to make sure that they're secure. So reef knot over it, and then pull everything up nice and tight. So what we don't want here really is a tassel. Those 2 pairs, that pair is tied, so I don't need to worry about that. Now the reason that I've left pairs out is because I want to get rid of this bunch. So very carefully I'm going to open that pair out, And I'm also going to push some pins down on this side. Doesn't matter which side you do it on. So I'm going to open that one out, and I'm going to take another one, the previous one, and open that out, and then the next one, and open that out. So I've got 3 that are sort of laid back on my bunch, and I'm then going to put my bunch to the back of my pillar, my work. So just the pin that I've just done, so that it's effectively lying over the braid. And then in pairs, I'm going to take the pairs that sit over the braid and reef knot. So that one's done. You have to be really careful that you're not catching on the pins. What this is doing is it's keeping that little tassel away from the end. So that's 2. And this is the 3rd one. So I'm keeping a lot of tension on these as I'm working with them to try and stop them having the opportunity to tie around pins. So I've done 3, and 3 should be enough to hold that away from you. So there'll be one last part to this video when I've taken all the pins out. What I'd advise you to do at this point is to leave your ends when you cut them off, your pillow, all long. I'm going to leave mine to set for 24 hours, and then I will come back and record the last little section of the video, which is about getting rid of those ends when you have finished. So you can see now that I've got my lace off the pillow, and I'm now going to look at cutting the ends off. So to do this, I use a pair of scissors like this. So they're bent scissors. I was told they're machine embroidery. They're really good for getting in close. So what I need to do is I need to be very gentle with these threads that are here. I'm going to roll them effectively over the back of my hand, and very gently, one by one, I'm going to lift them up, and one by one cut the individual threads. So I need to be very careful that I'm not cutting anything else when I'm doing that. So it is worthwhile taking your time over doing this. So very carefully, one at a time, one thread at a time. And as I'm doing it, I'm trying very carefully not to pull any of these threads, because I don't want to, well, they're going to be so tight later on that I'm not going to be able to anyway. But what I don't want to be doing is pulling them back. So I'm going to carefully repeat that all the way along. When I get to the bunching, I need to be a bit more careful, but I can just feel the bunch there. So I'll pause this video and come back when I've actually finished taking everything off. So I've now got all the threads off. I do need to go back and do some little bits of cutting with some of those ends. Even now, if I turn it over to the other side and carefully push those underneath, the little ones that are a bit too long, let me move that up. You can see that's quite a neat join. You've not got lots of ends showing. So that is this pattern finished. So I am going to come back with a different version of this pattern. It'll look the same except for the edge, and I'll show you how to start that off and how to work the 2 edges, but that's all I'll do in that video.